Welcome back to the Center on Buffalo podcast presented by DraftKings. This week's guest is Richie Incognito, one of my favorite teammates. I played with an absolute beast in the NFL for well over a decade. And now with Skip Bayless, he is on the Gridiron Arena. So make sure you give them a follow and check them out weekly. We're going to talk about the Bills on this one. Of course, we'll talk about the offensive line, how dominant they've been this season with the top rushing attack in the NFL. And we'll talk a little bit about the rest of the league as well. Thank you to all of you out there who tune in weekly. Make sure to give this podcast a subscribe, a follow, a like, and comment who you want to hear each and every week on this podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Go Bills.
Hit us up on all social media at The Buffalo Pod.
Richie, welcome to the podcast, brother.
What's up, brother? Excited to be back.
Dude, always good to see you. Let's start out talking about the Bills and especially those big boys up front. Right now, the Bills have the number one rushing attack in the NFL. James Cook's averaging the most yards per game. How impressed have you been with this offensive line so far?
Man, they look good. They got some studs. They got those two stud tackles, and the interior of the offensive line's playing well. Really awesome to see him get James Cook going this last week, coming out of the bye week. What are they going to focus on? And they put a big focus on running the football, getting those big guys up front going, bringing in some heavier personnel, bringing in some tight ends and some big bodies. So, James Cook, he's a dynamic running back, and he's really, really good. But it all starts up front with those big guys.
No doubt. And they did it old school. Like they ran 9. So James Cook ran the ball 19 times. 10 of his carries were tosses. And generally in this offense, those are toss cracks when we've seen them use the toss play. They were running like old school wide zone with a toss, getting those guys moving. Carolina's got a good interior of their defense. And so they just got those guys moving laterally, and they were able to absolutely gash them. And yeah, this offensive line's playing really good right now. We both played with Dion his rookie year. Be honest. Did you anticipate him being this dominant for so long?
No, not at all. No, I mean, when, to be completely honest, when Dion first came in, you and I were like, who is this kid? This kid is he's just so different, and he thinks different, and he's not like an old school grinder. And when he came in his rookie year and started playing, it was like, oh, okay, this kid is athletic. He's gifted. He really has all the tools to be special. And, one of the things about Dion, he started playing with us his rookie year in 2017.
Yep.
And he came down to the Pro Bowl with me in Orlando. And I remember a lot of people coming up to him and be like, hey, kid, you're a stud. You're going to be here one day in the Pro Bowl. And I think that was like a big confidence builder for him, because he was like a deer in the headlights. I forget who talked to him, but it was like one of the big tackles. Maybe it was Lawan. And Lawan's like, hey, I watch you play. You're a stud. You're going to be here. And he like lit up like a little kid. So to see him not only come in and start and dominate, but to be able to do it over this long of a time, I mean, it's super impressive. And just watching him play, like, I love how he lines up on the ball. Everybody, it seems like Kansas City is always getting flags for guys lined up in the backfield and guys trying to bail out. And he's like, screw that. I'm going to line up on the center's feet. I'm going to give myself a yard to a yard and a half disadvantage. And then I'm going to explode out of my stance, get back there and dominate. So really, really fun to watch him develop and turn into a stud.
Yeah, absolutely. And now he gets to work with Chromemer, who we worked with, who's, we both know one of the best, if not the best offensive line coaches in the league. It's funny. And we've picked up on it over these last couple of years. When Sean McDermott's doing a press conference, he'll be like, yeah, and our coaching staff's doing great, especially Aaron Kromer. He's like the only coach besides the coordinators that he names by name each and every week, which just shows you the respect that Sean has for Kromer. But and I get asked this all the time, and I'd like to hear your opinion on it. What makes Kromer so good at what he does?
Oh, there's a lot there, because Chromemer is one of the best, if not the best, offensive line coach I've ever played for. I know you have similar feelings as well. I think Chromemer just is able to break things down to like a step-by-step fundamental aspect of like, this is what we want you to do. This is how you do it. And he's able to explain to guys how to get their body into position to do these blocks. We used to do, when we had big two gappers, we do the double under. and then the guy on the double team coming in would hit the hip. And I've been on other teams, and they try and explain that, but they're not able to like fully articulate that. And it takes a couple weeks of the guys like, hey, this is a guy, you got to do it. You know, you got to gallop, but you don't want to get your feet together. So I think Chromer does a really good job of technique, fundamentals, talking through things. And I actually talked to Dion last week, and he said one of the things that they really enjoy about Chromer is he listens to them. Yep. He says, okay, you guys are on the field. You know, we went through spring, we went through camp. I've taught you all I can. You know, I've been here a couple of years, but here's all the tools in your toolbox. But he listens to them. Like, hey, coach, maybe let's tag block that backside. Maybe let's do this. Maybe let's do that. And they have such a special group up front that can get all of this done that it's really cool to see. It's kind of like an experiment at this point. Hey, maybe try this. So I got a lot of respect for Chrome. We had some really good days with him. And, you know, he's grown and he's matured and he's dropped a little bit of the craziness. Cause when you and I were with him, he was 95% like all business. And then he had 5% of that like crazy fire in him.
Yeah, he did. And it generally didn't come out on us. I always say Cromer's great with veterans, and he's also great with rookies. And he'll push those rookies' buttons, and he'll ride them, and then he'll be going off on a rookie, and then all of a sudden he'll be like, hey, Richie, what were you thinking here? That's like exactly. He treats the vets so differently, which you need to do.
Yes.
I also think Chromer, everybody complains, oh, we don't have enough padded practice anymore. We can't develop offensive linemen because we don't hit enough. And instead of complaining about it, Chromer has just adapted his drills and, okay, well, then we're going to do everything on air. And if we can't hit people as much as we want, okay, we're going to be really good with our footwork because we can work this. And I think he just does an awesome job at that. And then he has helped Joe Brady, and they've talked about it, scheming up the run game each and every week. And for him, and we've talked about it with him, he's not looking to be an offensive coordinator again. His aspirations of being a head coach are gone. So he's just, I say obedient, but hey, how can I serve this offense? Okay, well, I'll help out with the run game. And that's my role. Yeah. And it's been fun to see him develop into that in Buffalo. Let's take a moment to hear from one of our podcast partners, and that's Dan-O's Seasoning. I worked with Dan Oliver, Dan-O himself, to create a bundle just for our listeners. So right now you can get my 6 favorite Dan-O seasonings in a bundle. That's the original, the Chipotle, the crunchy, the primo, the red pepper seasoning, and the spicy. And you can get all those for 15% off if you use the code EWOOD. So check out the link in the show notes or go to danoseasoning.com and get that offer. You will not regret it. Yum, yum, get you some. Right now, Josh Allen's coming off an MVP season, obviously slow passing numbers, and you can make excuses. Hey, there's been games where you haven't needed it, or when you're running the football like we have, you don't have to get to it. But at some point, you're going to have to rely on the passing game. And the big knock right now is that we can't separate well enough at receiver. Trade deadline is a little less than a week from now. Do you think the Bills need to go out and try and bring in a different receiver?
Well, I mean, the microscope is definitely on the passing game right now. You know, everybody's doing a deep dive. You know, is it Josh? Is it the receivers? Is it this? Is it that? I think, you know, look back to recent history last year. They brought in Amari Cooper. They brought him in, and he's not a number one, but he can still go out there and make plays. And, you know, they kind of mix reviews on that. You know, just looking at the receiver room, you have Khalil Shakir, and he's a stud. He's a great slot player, and you can move him around and get completions and stuff like that. But then things kind of, you know, fall off. Joshua Palmer really hasn't worked out as well as, you know, one would have hoped. Keon Coleman, I mean, I saw him returning punts in that Carolina game, and that's all you needed to tell me. I mean, it's like they're trying to get him going. So, yeah, I mean, I would love for them to go get a young stud. You know, I've seen Chris Olave's name out there. That guy, he's a beast. You know, he's a guy you bring in and you sign to a deal, and him and Josh build that connection, you know, kind of like that Josh Stephon Diggs connection where he Johnny on the spot. You know, Josh is scrambling and he's going to chuck it up. But even, you know, kind of going like further down the list, like a Jacoby Myers, like we have in Las Vegas. I wasn't familiar with Jacoby Myers' game until he came to the Raiders. And then watching this kid play, I mean, he is a stud. You know, is he a true standout number one receiver? No, but he's good enough that you can rely on him in certain spots. So I'd love to see them go and get someone young, someone hungry, someone fast. to create a little separation and, take some pressure off of Josh. Josh can only make so much happen. I was watching these diagrams of all the receivers running around and them covered up, and people are like, what do you want Josh to do on this play? So get some talent around him, keep surrounding talent around him, because every time you have 17 on the field, you have a shot to win.
Yeah, you got to look at the teams that could be willing to give guys up that are likely out of it. So you mentioned Vegas, you mentioned Olave, and Bean was flying down to Carolina commercial flight, which I'm like, why was Bean at the airport?
I
in
saw
Buffalo?
that.
And all the Bills fans were chanting Olave, Olave. So he's hearing it, and if New Orleans is going to be a seller, maybe it's Shaheed, the young burner they got there as well.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, that'd be great.
Who knows if they'll be able to get something done on that. But yeah, I think it's well stated out there from amongst the fan base and everybody else that everybody wants the Bills to maybe try and go out and get a receiver. And Bean generally stays pretty active. At the trade deadline in 2017, he went out and got us Kelvin Benjamin. He came in about 270 pounds and didn't quite work out for us, but he is willing to go out at the trade deadline and take some swings out there. Let's take a moment to hear from one of our podcast partners, and that's our friends at Waterboy. It's an NFL player. I learned early on how crucial sodium is for performance. In a typical practice, an NFL player can lose 4,000 milligrams of sodium through sweat. So to prevent muscle cramping and recover faster, you need a strong and an elite electrolyte supplement with high quality sodium. And that's why I use Waterboy. And life hasn't slowed down now. And although I'm not playing on the field with my guys and my NFL teammates, I'm running my kids' games. I'm announcing games. I'm playing golf with friends and family. And so I always use Waterboy daily. Check them out at waterboy.com. And right now, when you place an order, you will get a free sample pack to try out some of their different flavors. Check them out at Waterboy. All right, so huge matchup this week. Bills, Chiefs. Chiefs started out the season 0-2, but they were getting guys back from injury, this and that. Mahomes is playing well. He's the MVP favorite right now if you're looking on DraftKings. But what's your thoughts on this Bills Chiefs matchup this weekend in Orchard Park?
Wow, man, this is a huge matchup. I mean, these are two teams that have big time Super Bowl aspirations. Buffalo's had a ton of success to them in the regular season, and then come the postseason, it's all the Chiefs. So looking at the Chiefs first, I mean, it's like the rich get richer. They get Xavier Worthy back, and the offense opens up. They get Rashee Rice back, and the guy's scoring touchdowns all over the place. And they got playmakers everywhere. Their run game's pretty good right now. Pacheco might be out. That's a huge bonus, but I think Kareem Hunt's really running the ball well with them. So Kansas City's rolling, man. They started the season and everybody was like, well, the dynasty's over. Oh, it's coming to an end. And I was entertaining that for a little bit, and then here they come. They just come roaring back to life. They're a well-coached team. Kelsey's coming back. Him and Patrick Mahomes' connection is super strong. So great matchup. The game's in Buffalo, right?
Yep.
So the game's in Buffalo on, you got them on your home turf. They got to capitalize. They got to win this one. This is going to be so important for seeding going into the playoffs. And I think that this is like a huge measuring stick for them. They came out of the bye week. They had some things they wanted to clean up. They go down and they thump Carolina. Well, now this is where you want to see how you match up against the best teams in the NFL. So this is a great matchup going into it. Expect the Bills to, rely on a heavy dose of the run game again, get that going, and then let Josh, do his thing in the pass game.
Yeah, this game started out as a 1-point Bills favorite at the beginning of the week. Now it's Kansas City -2. If you had to pick on the spread, who are you taking in this one?
Kansas City, I mean, you're giving Buffalo points. I'm taking Buffalo points at home every day of the week. I think that this is a really, really important game, and it's kind of going to set up the rest of the season for them. So I know Sean will have those boys fired up, and playing in Buffalo as opposed to playing in Kansas City is just such a big deal. That home crowd going when Mahomes is on the field, and then Josh is out there, and it's nice and quiet, and they can go through their checks and get their things going. So Bills getting points at home. I'm riding with the Bills.
I like it. I love it, actually. All right. So the Colts sit atop the AFC right now. Do you think they can sustain this success and grab the 1 seed at the end of the year?
Man, you know what? First off, the Colts are playing out of their mind. Daniel Jones has taken his game to the next level. Shane Steichen has really kind of just reinvigorated Daniel Jones' career, and it helps when you have the best running back in football. When you have Jonathan Taylor back there and you're able to give him the ball and he's able to score from 60, 70 yards out, or, you give him the ball. His runs down the sideline this week were just super, super impressive. Then you add in Tyler Warren and you add in all their weapons they have at receiver. They're a juggernaut. They're playing really, really well. We talk about this a lot on our show that, they need to go out and maybe get a pass rusher, get some pass rush help. The interior D line's good, get a little pass rusher help. The one thing that the Colts have going, not only are they playing really well, but they have an easy schedule. I think they're going into the season at the 28th ranked schedule. So if you ask me, do the Indianapolis Colts have a path to the 1 seed? I said, yes, they do. They haven't faltered. They've continued to operate on a high clip on offense. And then you look at the schedule, and I mean, they're playing the Jacksonvilles, the Tennessees, stuff like that. They get 2 games a year against some not great teams. So I do expect for them to just keep rolling, and we'll see where we're at in a couple of weeks, but I think they're looking strong.
I think so as well. Houston's coming on. Maybe they can give them a run in the division. Maybe they can take one from them. But yeah, it's going to be tough because, like you said, their schedule's easy. And if they stay healthy, they have a ton of talent. They were talented last year. They just didn't have a quarterback. And so you get a guy in there that can just operate. And so, yeah, they're going to be tough. All right, we're going to get to the rapid fire questions brought to you by Dano's Seasoning. So you mentioned your show. We mentioned in the intro, you're with Skip Bayless. You guys got an awesome crew of dudes. You guys, I love the clips because you got enough guys that'll make some hard takes and have some edge to them, which you don't see necessarily from general panels when you're watching TV and whatnot. How are you enjoying being on that show and digging in this season?
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. I was relaxing, enjoying my summer out in California, playing golf, traveling, hanging out. And the people over at Underdog Sports reached out and they said, "Hey, would you be interested in this opportunity? We got Skip Bayless, Aqib Talib, we got Cody Kessler, former USC quarterback, and we want to do just kind of like a barbershop where we're just having a conversation about football, and you guys can curse, you can say whatever you want, and we basically have all the freedom in the world to say whatever we want." So I said, yeah, you know what? I'll give it a try. I'll go check it out. And so I went up there, and it's a first-class organization as far as we have a great studio. We have great support. We have Skip Bayless, who's the OG in the game. He makes all our talking points for us. He makes things really easy on us. Him and his crew go through and break it down. And what we do, as opposed to ESPN's and the Foxes, we're not looking at teams. We're looking at individuals. We're looking at individuals on teams and then having to come up with talking points on that. So I'd always prepared to be in the media, but I didn't know in what realm I would really, really flourish and do well. And this panel discussion, just us sitting around talking ball, it suits me really well. And I'm really, really enjoying it. And the show's taken off. We're the number 2 sports show on YouTube right now. I think in the first month we did 40 million views. And what we're looking for is those social media clips. That's why I've been bringing the spice, and that's why I've been getting out there, because we're looking to do a 2-hour live show, but we're looking to get, 6 to 10 clips from each show, get that out there on social and get it going. So the team over at Underdog Sports, thankful to them for giving me the opportunity. And now we got this thing running, and it's been a blast, man. It's really been a blast. It's been a lot for me because I've been just flying under the radar, not making headlines. Everything's peaceful. And now you go out there and you're giving these hot takes, and now all my social media accounts, Twitter, everything. It's like when you come up with hot takes, you're going to upset some fans. You're going to upset some loyal fans of that team. And, that's been an adjustment for me, being back in the spotlight and getting all the comments and stuff like that. So it's been a lot, but it's been really fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really cool. When you look around the NFL right now, who is one defensive lineman on the interior who you would not want to go up against right now?
Man, Jeffrey Simmons. That guy is a beast, man. He's an all-day cat. I played him back in his rookie season in 2019, and you can tell, dude, this guy's big. He's powerful. We got after him a little bit. We had a big offensive line. We had Colton Miller, me, Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, and Trent Brown. So we were able to go in there and be physical with him. But I was like, man, this kid is going to be a stud. Like, you can build a whole defense around him.
Yeah, that's you talk about making moves at the trade deadline, and salary cap wise, it probably wouldn't work out. But if the Bills, especially with Ed Oliver going on IR now with the torn bicep, if the Bills could go out and nab that dude, that would be huge
Oh
for that
man,
defensive
that
line.
would be so huge for them. I mean, I know it's a long shot, but I mean, you talk about the guy that really just gets things going. He's got the energy, he's got the intensity, he's got the size. I mean, the dude is massive. We ran a B block on him, and I could barely get through on the backside. His big ass was just so in the way that like he's massive. So I mean, that would be huge for them to go out and get him. I don't think it's going to happen, but you know, Buffalo needs a big explosive interior guy. They got Daquan Jones, who's a big body. They got Ed Oliver, who's kind of a smaller body. They got Hoke back. They got Ogunjobi going. But like, for me, I think that if they could go get like a big, physical, fast, aggressive 3 technique, that would take a lot of pressure off that linebacking crew and, you know, make the guys around him better.
Yeah, no doubt about it. For me, I'd probably, just from like a nose guard perspective, I'd probably say Dexter Lawrence right now. He's the combination of size and speed, and he's got a little wiggle to him, and it's not just all power. Those guys were the tough ones for me. Like, if you're going to do the same thing every play, that's fine. Like, this is going to be an easy game for me, whether it's speed or you're just massive and we're going to wrestle the whole game. But those guys, like a Dexter Lawrence for me right now, would probably be the one. Let's take a moment to hear from one of our podcast partners, and that's Nug Sacks Premium Bagged Reusable Ice. If you're tired of the melted ice, water-filled coolers, and the constant gas station runs to buy bagged ice for your tailgates, check out Nug Sacks Reusable Ice at nugsacks.com. That's NUGSAX.com, and use code Buffalo to receive 10% off your first order. Grab your Nug Sacks and chill. All right, so this is the last season at Highmark Stadium. Do you have a favorite memory, favorite game from Highmark?
Man, you know, I would have to say that that year that we played the Colts in the snow.
Yeah,
that was miserable in the snow like that, but we got the win. You know, we were going down the stretch and we needed to pick up some wins to get in the playoffs and break the playoff drought. And we had a great game plan going against Indianapolis. We were going to do our pin and pull. We were going to get some things going in the run game that we hadn't been able to show. And we go out and it is dumping snow. And I just remember looking up and like, you always hear people talk about like it's coming down in sheets, like it's just coming down. Like that was insane. And, you know, we're in the hunt, we're going out there and we're going to go execute our game plan. And then it goes to, okay, we have to completely abandon this. I think Tyrod went out that game with a concussion, and then, or maybe it was Peterman. Someone went out with a concussion, and then we had Joe Webb in there. And, you know, he's at that point in his career, he's a wide receiver. So I remember Country Joe's snap count, all of us getting used to it. But yeah, that was a special game. You know, me and D-Doc over there, we ran duo. And on one play, we ran duo and we had the double team, and we just completely threw the guy out of the gap, but we threw him into the running lane. So we went to the sideline. We were like, hey, run that same play again, but I'm going to throw him out, and then I'm going to go get the linebacker. And we wind up doing it, and Shady takes it right behind us up there for a touchdown. So that'll be my number one memory from Highmark Stadium. You know, it's I got to see it from both ends too. I got to see it in the visiting locker room, which is absolutely terrible.
Is that the worst visiting locker room in the NFL?
Man, it's up there. It's top 3. I'd say Buffalo, Kansas City are like neck and neck for like the worst locker rooms. I do have to say Buffalo takes the cake. That there's not even enough room to foam roll in front of your locker. You know, where like you got to like spread out. But yeah, that's a lot of great memories there. But I'm really excited for them to open up the new stadium. I'm excited to come up there and see it. It looks awesome.
Yeah, so these new stadiums, if you're building it for a Super Bowl, generally you have an awesome home and away locker room, because in the Super Bowl, you don't want one team to have an unfair advantage. Buffalo likely not ever getting a Super Bowl, so we'll see if they still give the away team the shaft with the locker room at the new stadium.
Oh, so, man, they got to hook them up with something a little bigger than that. Like, come on.
Yeah, I would assume so. And the new stadium looks incredible. You know, I'm up there for all the home games, and it'll be 3 weeks or something between home games, and you see the stadium again. You're like, holy smokes, how much did they get done in 3 weeks? So that new stadium's going to be special. Brother, I can't thank you enough for your time coming on the podcast. Keep crushing it on the Gridiron Arena. I'm proud of you, brother.
Awesome, man. Always great seeing you, brother.
Always.